A fuel tank explosion rattled houses on La Crosse's north side this morning.
Emergency crews were called in around 7 a.m. to Midwest Fuels on the 700 block of Sumner Street, which is just south of the La Crosse Loggers baseball field. Crews were called to the scene after a 40-foot tank went up in flames. It took the emergency responders about an hour and a half to get the explosion under control.
News 8's Brittany Schmidt joins us live from the scene with the details. Brittany?
Yeah, Mark and Lisa, the fuel explosion was so powerful that the top of the tank actually flew off and landed on the explosion site. And that's where many people reported feeling like their windows were shaking this morning. The La Crosse Fire Department was actually already on their way to the scene before 911 calls started coming in because they heard the boom and saw thick black smoke from their firehouse. They found one of 7 fuel tanks had exploded. Authorities say the tank included a mixture of liquid asphalt and diesel, which caused a large black plume of smoke to fill that sky. One employee was transported to the hospital with non-life-threatening burns and has since been released. No firefighters were injured. Crews knew it was going to take a lot of water to put the fire out, so they contacted the DNR and Coast Guard right away in case if any of the runoff leaked to the Black River. The La Crosse fire chief says it's preparation like this that prevent problems in the future.
We were able to put that fire out, contain the runoff from our hose lines, and by doing that, we averted a problem one step ahead of the incident, because that's what's important. We don't want to get behind the 8 ball on these types of incidents, because it's very critical to have a planning section set up and to make sure that we anticipate what might happen.
After the fire was deemed safe, the crew started talking to the staff members, interviewing them, asking them, what happened so they could piece together all the information to find out what started that fire in the first place.
Brittany, how big was that tank that exploded?
So the tank holds about 132,000 gallons of that mix. But at the time of the explosion, it was about 7,000 in the tank at the time, because a lot of it had already been used because they're so close to their season. And that tank runs about 40 feet high and about 24 feet wide.
That's a huge tank, Brittany. What was the extent of the damage?
We're not sure of the exact extent of the damage, but right now we can tell you that there is extensive fire, water, and smoke damage around the area, but they will find out more as they continue to investigate.
So what's next for Midwest Fuels? Is it business as usual?
Tomorrow will be. Today, they kind of kept going. They did, however, resist any incoming shipments from any other areas, but tomorrow they will be back up and running as usual.
All right, Brittany Schmidt reporting live. Thank you very much for that. Joining us now is La Crosse Department Division Chief Jeff Murphy, handling the logistics this morning. We appreciate you. It's been a busy day. We appreciate you coming in today. How do you go about finding a cause for something like this?
Well, our investigation crews were out there this morning. They were interviewing the crews that were on scene with Midwest. They'll continue to talk with them, and then they'll look at the equipment and determine if there was an equipment failure or what the employees were doing at the time of the explosion, and try and piece that together and come up with a cause.
Was there any other damage to property or buildings, or was it just contained to that one tank?
Well, the roof of the tank did blow clear of that tank, and it did hit another tank and then land probably a couple hundred feet away. And then there were other tanks that sustained damage as well. What
kind of a response, is your department trained for something like this? What kind of a response do you have for an event like this?
Well, we train heavily with our hazmat team. All of our fire department members are hazmat trained, then we have our specialists as well. So we do pre-plan for this type of event, and we had quite a few of those hazmat team members there today.
Now, we heard today that the fire department actually self-dispatched. Does that happen often before the 911 calls even started coming in?
I would say not very often. With an explosion like this, as you know, people felt it throughout the city. So they were 8 blocks away and felt the explosion, went outside and alerted us at the other stations that we need to respond.
Now, there was a danger because of what was burning of things being in the air, so you asked people to stay in their homes for a large area. How rare is that for the department?
Well, for the city of La Crosse, for a large area, this is the first time that I can remember. And the standard for an event like this for evacuation or shelter in place would be about a half a mile. I could see that the plume was carrying a significant distance, and decided to extend that a little bit further. We went 10 blocks in each direction, and ultimately it was all about public safety.
We also heard the term Code Red kind of used throughout the day today. What does that mean, and how does that affect you guys in emergency response crews?
Well, for us, we're already responding on scene the way we would normally. We bring in the additional crews that we need. Luckily, it happened at shift change again, which is good for us. So we already have a lot of extra people coming in, but that's more of a community event type thing with the county. But for us, it was, get the resources there. We're anticipating something worse potentially could happen if we had another rupture on one of the neighboring tanks. So for us, it's get the resources there, get the people there, and be prepared if this gets any worse.
And it didn't get any worse. You responded quickly. Thank you so much. I know you were busy today, but we appreciate you coming in today
You
with
bet.
this information. Thank you. Emergency responders train for simulations like this several times a year. The La Crosse County Emergency Management Coordinator says everything fell into place the way it should.
He is crediting the fast response from the fire department, the 911 dispatch center handling more than 40 calls within 20 minutes, and the necessary training for first responders.
Having a hazardous materials response team right here in La Crosse was absolutely crucial. That crew was there. They were able to deal with this particular substance right away, very effectively.
Midwest Fuels says there are no environmental or health concerns to the public. The company says there was very little oil runoff. It is being cleaned up and it will not make the river.
Shortly after the explosion, the fire department issued a shelter-in-place order for anyone in a 10-block radius of Midwest Fuel. It's the first time our community has seen the alert.
Shelter in place is a recommendation for people in the area to stay indoors to avoid potentially hazardous air conditions.
A lot of people were confused. A lot of people were concerned. How does this impact me? What should I be doing? We need to do a better job of getting that out to people and let them know that should there be another hazardous materials event, that's what shelter in place means. Keep an isolation between you and outdoors.
The shelter-in-place order was lifted about 2 hours after the blast. It was a tense 2 hours for residents and businesses in the area. Jessica Zitzner owns Canine Clips near the site of the explosion. She canceled all of her appointments this morning, and Paul Dalby was cleaning his nearby business when he heard a huge explosion.
All of a sudden I heard a big bang. I jumped about 6 inches. I didn't know what was going on, Then I could see the flames from my back door. There had to be at least 40 feet high down there or higher.
I made a few phone calls, canceled my first couple dogs for the safety of everybody, to keep people away from the area. And I know that they said something about the air quality and with the safety of the pets, and it's just simpler to stay away from the area.
Every building in the La Crosse School District was outside of the area of concern, but district administrators decided to play it safe today. Students at Northside Elementary, Summit Elementary, and Logan Middle Schools had outdoor activity limited. At Northside, the kids were brought into the gym or cafeteria as they arrived this morning, and all recess was indoors.
We just want to make sure that every stone is turned and we have an opportunity to have indoor recess is easy enough for us to do, and then we'll send them home at the end of the day, and the air will be even clearer.
The principal says none of the buses were delayed due to the road closures.
As we get information you need to know about, we're updating it on several media platforms.
Outside of our newscast, you can check out our website, news8000.com. We have special coverage on today's explosion.
Now, if you're on the go, we have the latest information on our News 8000 mobile app. It's available for no cost on Androids and Apple phones.
And we're also posting on our social media sites, such as our WKBT News 8000 Facebook page.